Before I get into today's video, we'd like to send everybody a quick heads up that we're taking requests right now via the Ghostbusters News Patreon page. If you'd like to see a particular episode of Real Ghostbusters or Extreme Ghostbusters reviewed, or for us to take a look back at a classic action figure or product, sign up to our Patreon page via the appropriate tier, and let me know! And now, on to today's retro review. Over the years, the Real Ghostbusters created some pretty iconic bad guys. Let's face it, some downright creepy bad guys. But to me, they don't get any weirder than the Grundel. And that's who, better yet, that's what we're taking a look at today. The Season 3 episode of The Real Ghostbusters, entitled The Grundel. And this episode wastes no time, as the Busters are already out on a call, as they're going toe-to-toe with a Jabberwock. And what's so cool about that is a Jabberwock is actually a real thing. Well, I mean, not really a real thing, but it comes from, other lore. You see, it was included in the 1871 novel Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There. That was a sequel to Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Slimer earns his keep helping the Ghostbusters out in battle, and while in battle, the Ecto-1 gets stripped down, including all the nuclear equipment on top. And what heavy street gang stripped down the Ecto-1 in just mere minutes? Well, it wasn't a street gang at all, it was a kid named Larry. You see, this episode's all about bad kids, and this moment certainly sets the tone, with Larry cementing that as he tells the cop,
"Get stuffed!"
That'll be enough of that. Come on, Larry.
We then get our first look at the Grundel, who lets out a big, sniff, and then says,
"Need fresh, untouched."
ugh, creepy. We are then introduced to the two lead kids in this episode. They're brothers, Alec and Lee. And of course they have a Ghostbusters poster on their wall because it was the 1980s. Who didn't have a Ghostbusters poster on their wall? I mean, it's 2020 and I still have several Ghostbuster posters on my wall.
You should be able to do whatever you want. Anything, if it's what you want to do. And what you really want to do is invite me in. Let me in, Alec.
Now there's the creepiness that has haunted me for 30 years.
Things I will show you. We will have fun, Alec. Oh, so much fun. If you just open the window and let me in.
So the Grundel's ability to take over a child is kind of like a vampire's needing to be invited into someone's home. It can't really do too much unless you give it the A-OK. The next morning outside the Ghostbusters fire hall, a school bus goes by setting off the PKE meter. Because Alec is in there and now he's bad. And just how bad is Alec? Well, his first act of defiance is going to be stealing the bus driver's wallet. Wait a minute here. Is he rubbing it on his chest? I mean, what is he doing here? He doesn't have a pocket under there, does he? What's happening right now?
What do you think you're looking at? Nothing, Alec.
The Ghostbusters are having a presentation at the local school. The same local school that houses Lee and Alec. With how big New York City is, what are the odds here? Also, once again, Egon's PK meter does go off. More shenanigans are afoot as the Grundel gets Alec to readjust some of the configurations of the proton packs. Jesus Christ, how are the Ghostbusters still in business after this? Who okayed them shooting off nuclear streams in a closed area surrounded by children?
And this concludes today's performance. Thank you all for coming. Good afternoon, and now we have to be going. Don't we, guys? Right, bye.
Lee, being the compassionate brother, talks to the Ghostbusters about Alec's changes, sparking Egon's interest in the matter.
What do you think, Egon?
I don't know, but it couldn't hurt to check a few references anyway.
Speaking of Egon, can we take a second to appreciate Maurice LaMarche's performance in this episode?
Honestly, Ray, to depend on people loving you for your personal satisfaction with a job well done, really.
Janine's makeover was heavy and in full effect in this episode, but we still had some pretty heavy sexual tension afoot.
Oh, Egon, I love you most of all.
Yes, well, such displays of emotion are only needed by the insecure. Thanks for the thought, though.
We see Lee and Alec's father, who runs down recent occurrences, like Alec getting into school fights, stealing comics, and kicking a cat. School fights, I'm okay with. Stealing comics, okay, whatever. But kicking a cat, I mean, come on. Also, why does the dad look 60, but he has the voice of a 23-year-old radio disc jockey?
Honestly, I just don't know what's gotten into you, Alec.
Oh, wouldn't you be surprised, Dad?
What did you say?
Oh, nothing, just burped.
Alright, a pretty freaky line is coming up in 1, 2...
Do it. You want to do it, don't you?
Sure, let's do it.
Now the Grundel is not only content with Alec, he also now wants Lee apparently. And how is he going to get him? He's going to lead him to a secluded area, of course. Alec randomly jumps out of a freaking window. Like, that's not human. Look how high they are up. Lee, of course, follows, but being that he doesn't have supernatural abilities, he's got to take the stairs. Egon does some snooping in Tobin's spirit guide, finding the Grundel. And his reaction is adorable, almost to a Mr. Magoo level.
Got something?
A Grundel, oh boy.
He explains the Grundel is a supernatural parasite, he turns good kids bad, and eventually the kid is going to turn into a Grundel himself. Oh, also Ray and Slimer have a moment.
Go through the phone book.
Ray.
Like, how does that even work? Slimer in a phone book is like silly putty in a newspaper. Alec introduces Lee to the Grundel, and his reaction is, well, what you'd expect. Alec's visual transformation is beginning, as he's starting to look more like if a Critter and the Toxic Avenger had a love child. The Ghostbusters are finally here, but before they can actually use their proton streams and bust the Grundel, well, they have to do this.
If we can't fire because they're linked, and they're linked because Alec invited the Grundel in, then all we have to do is get Alec to send the Grundel away again.
And how do you do that? Well, an emotional finale, of course. Peter winds up confronting Alec, with then Alec proceeding to shoot fire out of his hands. And I just love how relaxed Peter is about that. Like, he's shooting fire out of his hands. Here it comes again. And still, Peter is pretty calm, cool, and collective. After a simple question,
Is that what you want to be like? Is it? Is it?
the link is broken and Alec helps Lee. The Ghostbusters eventually bust out the streams, Venkman helps the kids, and all is well with Egon delivering his best Kool-Aid Man impression.
Oh, yes!
So that is the Real Ghostbusters episode of the Grundel. Like I said at the top of the episode, I consider the Grundel one of the creepiest characters in all of Ghostbusters lore. And this would not be the last time he makes an appearance, because yes, the Grundel does return. If you'd like me to cover that here on the channel, be sure to let me know right down below in the comments section. Once again, sign up to the Ghostbusters News Patreon page to get these episodes first, and to let us know what you'd like reviewed. That is all I've got for you here right now. I'll see everybody right back here next time. Ghostbusters News right here on YouTube.